Hey guys, it's me, EODGamer here, and today we're back with another best teams video, and we have Tribbie, a new character in 3.1. I promise you, with all of these best teams video, there will be a team just for you, so sit tight. Let's start things first off with understanding a quick summary of what Tribbie does in Honkai Star Rail. I've simplified it into 4 very simple points to get us started. Number 1. She is a character that scales with max HP, not only of herself, but also of the entire team. So the team wide HP all added together, the more the merrier, but she does a lot of damage that is percentage based on her max HP. So that is something very critical to know as well. Unlike your other characters who are maybe attack scaling or defense scaling, she is scaling with HP percentage. Now, another thing that you need to know about her, summarizing her overall kit, is she is very sub-DPS focused. Think the likes of other characters like Robin, who deals a lot of damage from a harmony role. Tribbie is exactly that as well. She does plenty of damage from a sub-DPS role, scaling with HP, importantly to note as well. Now, third thing, she also scales with the number of ultimates that your teammates do. So the more ultimates your teammates does, the better she performs, the more damage that she can put out as well. So that is a critical thing that you need to know about this character. Fourth thing, to summarize her overall kit before we get started, is Res Pen. She provides a lot of resistance penetration for the entire team, which is great because putting all 4 of these categories together means that she is a very flexible character that can go into attack scaling teams, defense scaling teams, HP percentage scaling teams, and others as well. Very generic character, very solid character, very versatile. But now let's go in with the team composition overview of Tribbie. Where does she exactly outperform? Where does she fill in? This is the 9 teams of Honkai Star Rail, overview of all the different teams, of the styles that the Memory of Chaos buffs and stuff like to rotate around. She fulfills the role of really 4 different teams. 1, hyper carry, of course. If you're trying to buff a DPS, you want a buffer. Harmony characters generally do well here for another hyper carry character. Another team is, although she doesn't scale off super with speed, fast and often, meaning characters that like to act a lot, also benefit her, especially in ultimate heavy teams. Characters with low burst cost, you will see this in this video as well. Low burst cost ultimates generally are quite favorable for her. Great for a unit like Tribbie to perform on because she scales with the number of ultimates your teammates use. Next up, of course, she does some sort of follow-up attacking, so that is also nice if you need anyone to trigger the follow-up attacks. And at the same time, she's great for teams that scale with HP percentage. So I put her upside down here because it's not technically HP decay. She doesn't sap anyone's HP, but generally the teams that are HP decaying in nature, where they sap HP, generally have high HP, which performs well with her too. We will see this reflected in a lot of this video, but let's first thing jump in with the first and best team for her in 3.1, and that will be the Herta team. So there are going to be many teams in this video, but the one that I think will be most easily utilized right now in 3.1 is probably going to be a best in slot combination of Tribbie and Herta. The reason why this combination works really well together is because Tribbie offers a lot of damage on the side to help you build stacks for the Herta. At the same time, she gives a lot of buffs to the entire team in terms of resistance penetration. And Herta also gives damage to Tribbie, which is really nice, especially if you have 2 erudition, you buff Tribbie sub DPS potential even more, becoming more of like a symbiotic relationship. Whereas previously in like other characters might only be buffing Herta, this way Herta also can buff another damage dealer from your harmony role, which is super solid. So to fill up the role right now, it's going to be very similar to the Herta teams that you saw on our Herta team comp videos, with one exception I'll talk about in a bit. You can have in the pivot slot Jade or Serval. The reason why Serval is really strong as well is because Serval has a very low burst cost as well in terms of her ultimate ability. She doesn't really consume too much skill points, so you can allocate the skill points to members who need it a little bit more. Jade is of course really solid, but it's a premium option. The other option, although not as favorable because he does want a bit more skill points, is probably Argenti. He does have a very low half burst, which helps you tap into the strengths of Tribbie as well. But I think Serval is a much more cheaper option, and she's really, really fantastic, as most of us playing Herta teams would know. Now, the other utility slot here, Ho is actually probably going to be my number 1 in this team because she provides energy for the entire team, but at the same time, she scales with HP, meaning that she's relatively chongus, helping Tribbie scale well as well. So it's really, really solid. Otherwise, you can go with characters like Lingsha, who does a lot of damage on the side to help build stacks. At the same time, you can go with a high HP a pseudo damage dealer with her ultimate as well, Fucc, and help your team have more survivability if the enemies are dishing out more AoE damage. So Fucc is also a pretty decent option. These three are probably my more favorite pick right now in 3.1, but you have other options, for example, like Aventurine, for example, like Gallagher, who do some sort of damage instances, really thinking from the perspective of the Herta, rather than thinking of the perspective of making Tribbie the best DPS. She is a sub DPS after all, but we will mention more teams for her shortly. In my opinion, this is going to be one of the best teams and one of the most attractive ones. But that's not all. We have a second version of teams here, and that switches the side and shows the versatility of Tribbie. Outside of attacking percentage DPSs like the Herta, she can also work very well in characters that do not scale with attack percentage, which generally your other Harmony characters tend to perform better in whenever they scale attack percentage, like for example Robin. This is where Tribbie starts to really shine. In HP scaling teams, for example, the new character that is being released, Mighty, as well as characters in the past like Blade, Jingliu, these characters generally have some sort of HP decay mechanic, and a character like Blade and Mighty definitely scales with HP percentage, which generally benefits quite a lot from Tribbie's generic resistance penetration, and their high HP benefits Tribbie to do even more damage as well. So really solid characters too. The utility section here, I put higher emphasis on characters that scale higher with HP and abundance characters in nature. For example, Ho Ho, who has HP scaling, is generally favorable to have more HP. On these characters like Ho Ho, Lynx has ability to buff HP, Fucc, which also buffs HP, crit rate, has a lot of HP as well. Your Natasha, who is HP scaling, Bailu with HP scaling. Your other abundance characters that are generally attack focused, maybe slightly lower priority, but they are all abundant, so they work really nicely with HP decay teams in general, which is where they start to outperform preservation teams who might suffer. Those of you old-time Jingliu players will know that a shielder might not be as good as a healer in some cases. So Fucc, note that she might not be able to sustain unless of course you have a signature and some sort of way to like sustain your entire team. So a quick caveat, but she is a HP scaling preservation character. I put here a pivot in a censored box. We will talk more about Mighty's teams if you guys are interested in him. I know not every one of you watching this video, who is mainly for Tribbie, cares about Mighty, so we will leave him for a separate video that we will do subsequently on the channel. But now let's go in with the next team, focusing on Tribbie again, is the slow teams. Another thing that makes her really strong is her unique ability of not really caring about action advancing in her base kit. Unlike characters like Sparkle, Robin, Hanya, to some extent, Bronya, Sunday, who are meta and focus more on action advancing in the team, Tribbie has none of that. And she really works decently well with slow teams who don't really care about action advancing, and she even starts to outperform a lot more because she does a good amount of damage on the side. So characters that don't care about speed in general is units like Clara, for example, and to a lesser extent, Yunli as well as Blade. These characters are focused more on enemies hitting them, counter mechanics in general, and to them speed might not be as critical as other characters that want to go really fast. For example, maybe your Erudition characters that want to build stacks, or Fei Xiao who wants to like build a lot of stacks, Akirion who wants to hit more so that she can get more stacks and stuff like that. Slow teams are when she starts to outperform. Your other characters in the last slot is of course again very flexible. You have so many different supports, and more or less like a lot of them can be filled here. Pivot slot here also is very flexible. It's not super meta in the game state right now, but maybe a character that could also be considered will be a character like Fucc, which offers a little more break potential, letting your supports deal break, your main DPS deal break, your Tribbie here doing break as well. More of this can be expanded once we have more information on future characters that are coming into the game. I think this is one angle to look at. Slow teams, definitely she starts to shine a little bit more, and that is something that I'll be looking out for too. Now, next up, moving away from niche teams like maybe HP percentage and slow, which is where she performs, but one interesting one that I personally am looking out for really soon is your Quantum Hyper Carry teams. This is probably the first team with like a double Harmony Quantum as well, and we want to make use of that. So putting in two characters like Sparkle, Tribbie, or even Silverwolf and Tribbie helps you double down on that quantum element, hyper carrying a main DPS. Currently in the game as of 3.1, we have the three main characters like Zila, Xue Yi, as well as Ting Xue, but we are going to have a new one coming up, and that is Casteris. We, as of kind of recording, don't really know what exactly she does right now. For official content wise, we don't talk about leaks on the channel, but once we have more information, she is a strong candidate for filling in a quantum hyper carry with either one of these two quantum supports as well, and I will be looking out for this team composition more, especially when we were doing our Casteris team comp videos shortly in the future with more official information. Utility slot, again, you can pretty much play with the 2 quantum units, links, as well as Fucc. Very, very good amounts of variety already over here. And of course, as promised, some of you might not have all these limited characters here and there. A team for everyone, that's the name of this team. Something that if you are a new player, you are a person that doesn't have all the other characters that we talked about in this video, what I start off with is a nice, really great team of abundance kind of sustain. For example, like Natasha, Lynx. These characters scale a bit more of HP. They have some way of like buffing HP amounts, scaling with HP in general, so it helps Tribbie out a little bit more. You have characters like Servile, who does a lot of bursts, does a lot of erudition AoE, which is nice to help you offer a lot more damage. You have Herta as well, also really strong. Herta 4-star, which helps you scale into your pure fiction game modes in future. Otherwise, if you want a more single target, maybe a bit more flexible DPS, you can go with Xue. But this will probably be my recommendation for a new player or person that doesn't have any other character looking to start the game in a good fashion that scales a little bit better with time, perhaps. And if you found this video helpful, we do this every single patch for every single character that comes out. Like, comment, and subscribe for more such future content, and see you guys in one of these 2 next videos.